Hey guys, you've heard of the Young Turks podcast because you're listening to it right now. But make sure that you subscribe and give it a 5-star rating if you like it. Thank you for listening. All right, welcome to the Young Turks. But amazing show. Okay, so do we have devastating facts on Donald Trump? Of course we do. Are we going to take glee in them? No, this is a sober-minded show about the facts. No, we're gonna have a lot of fun.
There's a headline in Mediaite. It's been like on the front page for a few days now. It's something along the lines of Democrats shouldn't celebrate the impeachment of Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, sure. Look, that's for other folks, okay?
The biggest parade in American history.
Okay, okay. Anyway, so we will celebrate it with glee, and Schadenfreude here goes to 11. Okay, so we got a lot of that, but also here comes Bernie. Don't call it a comeback, except kind of. So I got 3 facts for you guys, one better than the next.
And that's it for the whole show, for the whole 3 hours.
No, I could. I can do 3 hours on it. You think I can't do 3 hours on it? I can.
He can.
Okay, I can and I will. All right, anyway, so we got Bernie coming up. We got great guests. Abby Martin's on the show with an amazing new movie about what's happening in the Gaza Strip. And then, of course, a bananas post game.
Yes.
Okay, so let's do it because we got a ton of show for you guys.
All right. The Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, remains defiant when it comes to subpoenas by congressional Democrats who, of course, would like to speak with him and get some information about his involvement in the Trump-Ukraine call. Now, earlier it was reported that Pompeo said he knew nothing about the call. He was completely in the dark. And then yesterday, news broke indicating that Pompeo was actually listening in on Donald Trump's phone conversation with Vladimir Zelensky, who is, of course, the Ukrainian president.
You know, and I'm going to interrupt to say 2 things. One is tick, 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 tick. The other is some chance that he was in the dark. He was just listening to oh, look, this is really good, man. Hold on. No, turn the lights off. Turn the lights off. Like, I'm really enjoying this, man. Oh, he talked about Biden again, Biden. Okay. But look, it gives you a sense of what hilarious liars they are. He's like, I have not seen the memo that describes the call. And no, I did not read the whistleblower complaint. Yeah, look, it's partly about you. I would imagine you should read it. But he's like, oh, no, I haven't done any of that. And then like 2 days later, dude, you were on the call. Yeah, well, okay, that's true.
It's incredible. So various House committees that are conducting these investigations as part of the impeachment inquiry have subpoenaed members of the State Department. And Pompeo has responded to that by saying that, nope, we're not going to cooperate until we obtain further clarity on these matters. And for his part, Pompeo is arguing, no, haven't done anything wrong. Take a look.
The president's lawyer, Mr. Giuliani, has said that the State Department instructed him to get involved with Ukraine, to reach out to President Zelensky and his aides. Is that correct? And if so, what exactly was he told to do by the State Department?
To the best of my knowledge, from what I've seen so far, each of the actions that were undertaken by State Department officials was entirely appropriate and consistent with the objective that we've had, certainly since this new government has come into office.
Now, yesterday, we shared a story about how senior aides in Biden's campaign are arguing that cable news networks and television stations should no longer book Rudy Giuliani to comment on this whole controversy because he keeps spreading misinformation and conspiracy theories about Biden. Now, I would argue that that's actually a really bad move based on principle and also just based on strategy, because Giuliani is the one who's going on cable news incriminating members of the State Department. If you don't remember that, take a look at this next video.
He has resigned. Do you know why?
I don't know why Kurt resigned. I mean,
he's being deposed this week.
I think there are a lot of people in the State Department who maybe have questions about what he did and why he did it. But I should tell you, he wasn't the only one. He was joined by another ambassador who talked to me, debriefed me, gave me information about what to ask Mr. Yermak.
Who is
I
that?
did not do this on my own. I did it at the request of the State Department. Why the State Department
did
is
Secretary
running
of
away
State
from
Pompeo know you were doing these things? Did he ask you to do these things?
He did not. Mr. Volker did, and then Mr. Sondland did. But when I talked to the Secretary last week, he said he was aware of it. He told me that he was aware of it.
Oh, I love this. I love this catfight. And it's right in front of everybody on national TV. Giuliani is throwing the State Department under the bus. So Pompeo is saying like, call, what call? What name so? I never heard of it, right? And Giuliani's going out there and be like, oh yeah, here's the text from the State Department, and it's Volker, and it's this guy, and Pompeo told me last week he knows about it. And so everybody's in the yard, and everybody's got a shiv. And so they're like, and everybody's bleeding out all over the place. It's all over television. And then meanwhile, like, Trump and his trolls online are like, nothing to see. What do you mean? The real problem I see is with the Democrats, right? You see what I'm saying? No, nobody sees what you're saying. You guys are lunatics, and it's on display for everyone. And so if you're wondering why are they shivving each other? What's going on here? Because Giuliani is saying to the State Department, you better not throw me under the bus saying that I went to Ukraine without permission and started conducting shadow foreign policy, and I'm the bad guy and I committed illegal acts? Nuh-uh, you told me to do it, and here's the text, and et cetera. He's got more threats coming up later, right? And then meanwhile, Pompeo is in bigger trouble, because it's one thing if this Looney Tune Giuliani is running around Eastern Europe going, hey man, give me documents on Soros and Biden and whatever. And so he goes in like that, right?
That's exactly how he did it.
Okay, anyway, but it's another thing if the State Department is authorizing trips that are not on behalf of the United States government, but on behalf of Donald Trump as a person and as a politician. That could be more problematic and illegal. So that's why Pompeo is like in a cold sweat. I was in a dark room. I don't know what happened. What are you doing, Rudy? What are you doing?
So Pompeo's first strategy, which obviously didn't work, was to lie about what he knew or what his involvement was in the communications between Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky. And then once news broke indicating that he was listening in on that call, he decided to change course and essentially tell these various House committees that he will not cooperate with their subpoenas. So I'm curious to see how these committees respond to that, because there has been strong language in regard to refusals to cooperate. They claim that they will hold individuals in contempt of Congress. We'll see if that happens. But I do want to play one more clip. Again, this is a clip that we've shown you in previous shows, but it features Rudy Giuliani, again, incriminating the State Department. This is from September 26. Take a look.
Are you, Rudy, concerned that you're unnecessarily dragging, his name into this?
Who? Whose name?
Volker's name.
Well, yes, but
Volker.
He should step forward and explain what he did. I went to meet Mr. Zelensky's aide at the request of the State Department. 15 memos make that clear.
Tick, 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 tick. Look, when the rats are scurrying around the ship, like, no, you go in first. Oh, get out of here! I'm going to get on the lifeboat first. Well, then you got issues here, and when you're doing it in front of everybody, people can see the panic. I can smell the Republican panic in the morning, and it smells disgusting.
Delicious. I like it.
At the same time, it's like a Roquefort cheese.
So pungent.
It's like, yeah,
so
what is that? But hold on, let me try it. Tick, 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 tick,
yeah.
tick,
But
tick,
my
tick,
favorite
tick.
line from Pompeo, who wrote a letter to these committees, was the following. He argues that these Democrats are attempting to intimidate, bully, and treat improperly the distinguished professionals of the Department of State.
Oh, yes, I'm so glad you read that. That was my favorite line too. So what I loved is the distinguished professionals of the Department of State.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
no, but Mike, he's talking about you. So he's referring to himself as, please, the Congress trying to intimidate distinguished professionals such as myself, who only listens to calls in the dark. Good luck with that, son. Hey, somebody book Rudy again. Get him on TV. Let's see what more damage you can do.
Well, speaking of Rudy, our next story talks about him and how he's facing a subpoena.
I never talked to a Ukrainian official until the State Department called me and asked me to do it. And then I reported every conversation back to them. And Laura, I'm a pretty good lawyer, just a country lawyer, but it's all here, right here. The first call from the State Department.
Well, Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, flaunting and boasting about the fact that he has evidence and recordings of members of the State Department has led to a subpoena toward Giuliani. Now, various House committees have subpoenaed Giuliani in order to testify and share documents in regard to this impeachment inquiry. And the subpoena does require Giuliani to produce communications, including text messages and phone records regarding Biden's son, Hunter, who served on the board of a Ukrainian energy company, and efforts by Giuliani or his associates to pressure current or former Ukrainian officials to investigate matters regarding Biden or any other American. So this was sent to him by various chairmen on committees that are investigating Donald Trump and doing this impeachment inquiry.
Okay, two things about this. First of all, when he grabbed the phone to put it up on air, I was like, yes, because I thought there was a 24% chance it was accidentally going to show porn. You know, because with the conservatives, they're always like, we're family values, these some bitch liberals. And see, look at my phone. Oh, 69, I didn't mean that. Could have popped up on anybody's phone. It could have popped up on anybody's phone, okay? When it came on, I was like, come on, show it to me, show it to me. But it turns out he didn't have that. Don't put up your phone on TV. It's a terrible idea.
It really is.
Okay, and if you are going around saying, hey, I got the documents on my phone, guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna get subpoenaed for those documents. And so I'm gonna laugh my ass off when Rudy's like, documents? What name so? He's like, I don't have any documents. Dude, you put it on TV and you said, they're right here, they're right here. And you think he won't turn around and be like, I don't know.
I mean, he's a clown, so who knows? It's really a wild card. Who knows what he actually has, whether there really is dirt on State Department officials who he claims he worked with in order to do this investigation into Joe Biden. But the chairman of these committees also asked Giuliani to hand over communications regarding US foreign assistance to Ukraine. Remember, Donald Trump had put a freeze on that foreign assistance, and any efforts to withhold or delay it. Now, Giuliani was asked whether or not he plans on cooperating with the subpoena, and here's what he told Sean Hannity.
And would you testify? Because I think Jay Sekulow is absolutely right. You don't have to do anything.
Oh, I don't know. I'm weighing the alternatives. I'll kind of like go through it. I'll get all my evidence together. I'll get my charts. I don't know if they let me use videotapes and tape recordings that I have. If they let me get some of the evidence that I gathered.
Can we just talk about the insane double standard when it comes to responding to a subpoena? If any other average American goes on television or makes public statements about like, I don't know, I'm really considering whether or not I'm gonna cooperate with this subpoena. No, you're gonna be in trouble. Whereas Rudy Giuliani is like, I don't know, I'm just milling about, making up my mind, on the fly. Let's see what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. So he actually, to be fair, because we can't help but be fair, he would have an interesting case against a subpoena that others wouldn't, because he's the lawyer for Trump. So he could say attorney-client privilege, and that would be an interesting legal argument, right? And I don't know where I would come out on that, or legal scholars would come out on that. But what's really interesting is that he's not going in that direction. My guess is he will eventually, be crazy not to. And that doesn't mean it's gonna work, but it's at least a very fine arguable point, right? Instead, on Fox News, he's saying, I got videos, I got pictures, I got this, I got that. And so that is not a threat against the Democrats. That actually helps the Democrats. That is a threat against the Trump administration.
Specifically the State Department.
Yes, I want you guys to absorb that. This is not Rudy versus Democrats. This is Rudy versus Trump's State Department. And so they're fighting on television and saying, oh yeah, I got documents, I got documents. Oh yeah, I'll go show them to the Democrats. No, I'll show them to the Democrats. Here, I'll show it right now on TV, right? So that's a great place to be if you want to find out more information about what Trump did, because apparently Trump team is fighting internally and threatening to reveal all of it. By the way, if Trump didn't do anything wrong, what is there to reveal? I mean, this goes back to Trump constantly saying, it was a perfect phone call. First of all, what's a perfect phone call? I mean, have you ever had a perfect phone call? Have you ever gotten off the phone? That was perfect.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Right. Anyway, but he's saying it's a perfect phone call. Great, no problem. The transcript of the call is in the secret servers that you hit him in. So release the transcripts. Let's find out how perfect it was, right? Meanwhile, Rudy's like, I don't want to wait, man. I'll just tell Democrats now. I think that Fox News might stop booking him. That's why Laura Ingraham shoot him off the air the other night. She's like, stop it. No, wait a minute. This is actually damaging Trump.
Yeah, I remember Laura Ingraham, though, tried to brush it off as, oh, he's losing his voice, go get your voice back and come back on. But later he did come back on and then proceeded to continue incriminating himself and members of the State Department.
Love it.
And so, yeah, look, the infighting, and I have a question because you're the one who went to Columbia Law School, you're the fancy guy here.
Oh, please, so I mean, I didn't say anything.
I know that there's attorney-client privilege because Giuliani is Donald Trump's personal lawyer. But Rudy Giuliani doesn't serve as the State Department's personal lawyer.
Well, listen, as a JD, I can comment on this.
Go ahead. Please. I would really appreciate your expertise.
No. Look, this is really simple. Of course, he's not the State Department's lawyer. He's worked for the government. He doesn't work for the government at all. That's why it's both a political, ethical, and legal issue that Giuliani's out there seemingly representing the United States of America when he is in no way, shape, or form even in the government, let alone has the authority within the government to make claims or promises on behalf of the American people. So no, he would not have any attorney-client privilege regarding the State Department, any texts, videos, phone calls they sent him. So when he says that on air, he's getting himself and the State Department in a world of trouble. Because when he's talking to Trump, who is his client, there he could have attorney-client privilege and protect that to some degree. But they should have kept this fight internal, but as usual, incompetence reigns supreme in the Trump administration.
I love it.
It exploded into the national conversation. They made it public. Now, I don't think Giuliani has much of a choice. If you get a legal subpoena from Congress saying you do not represent the State Department, you said you have documents related to this issue from the State Department, give me the documents. I think he's got to give him. I don't think he has a choice at all.
So he has until October 15th to hand over the documents that they're requesting. And the chairman of the House Intelligence, Oversight, and Foreign Affairs Committees included this line, or this paragraph, I should say, in their letter. They say your failure or refusal to comply with the subpoena, including at the direction or behest of the president or the White House, shall constitute evidence of obstruction of the House's impeachment inquiry and may be used as an adverse inference against you and the president. And in regard to Giuliani, he gives mixed messages. So in the videos that we showed, there was some indication that he's willing to cooperate. But via Twitter, he wrote, quote, I have received a subpoena signed only by Democrat chairs who have prejudged this case. It raises significant issues concerning legitimacy and constitutional and legal issues, including inter alia, attorney-client, and other privileges, as Cenk mentioned earlier. It will be given appropriate consideration. So he has already thought of possibly citing attorney-client privilege. But as we just mentioned and summarized for you guys, that doesn't necessarily apply to some of the accusations he put out there about the State Department.
Yeah, and the idea that, hey, listen, it's just Democrats that are asking for it is totally irrelevant. So as we told you on yesterday's show, the Republicans subpoenaed the Obama administration over 100 times when they were in charge of Congress. The Obama administration didn't get to say, yeah, but that's because it's a Republican-led Congress, so I'll just ignore a legal subpoena. Nah, that's not how it works. And Eric Holder did once not comply with Congress, and he got in trouble for it. In fact, I thought he should have gotten in bigger trouble for it. And see, what's the great thing about doing an honest show? We don't have to worry about partisan games. So when Holder did the wrong thing, we called it out every time. When Hunter Biden's on the board of that Ukrainian gas company, he's on there because of his last name. Everybody knows it. The dishonest shows and partisan shows have to cover up for it. No, Hunter Biden's totally fine. He's a huge expert on oil and gas in Ukraine. Huge expert, right? All right, if you say so. Okay, right. That's why independent media is important. TYT.com/join. Okay, plus we have fun. And I think that Giuliani's gonna have to give up the
documents. Man, that is an old school reference.
That's like from a clip.
Oh wait.
Yes, from a clip from like 10 years ago when a woman was exercised about documents that were in her at the school that her daughter was going in because she was worried about
having sex in the classroom.
In fact,
live sex.
And they had the
documents
to prove it.
That was one of the best videos.
Could you imagine if Adam Schiff gets out there and he's like, Rudy Giuliani, we're gonna need those
documents? She sounds like my mom. Like that's exactly how my mom would sound if she found out that there were students having live sex in the classroom I was in.
I think you mean
live sex. All right, that was, by the way, total curveball. Did not expect that.
That's what I do. I throw curveballs all day long.
Oh, yes, you do, especially 15 minutes before showtime. All right, guys, we got to take a break. And when we come back, the Inspector General for the intelligence community had to issue a rare statement debunking the conspiracy theories that Donald Trump has been spreading.
We need to talk about a relatively new show called the Republic, or UNFTR. As a Young Turks fan, you already know that the government, the media, and corporations are constantly peddling lies that serve the interests of the rich and powerful. But now there's a podcast dedicated to unraveling those lies, debunking the conventional wisdom. In each episode of On the Republic, or UNFTR, the host delves into a different historical episode or topic that's generally misunderstood or purposely obfuscated by the so-called powers that be, featuring in-depth research, razor-sharp commentary, and just the right amount of vulgarity. The UNFTR podcast takes a sledgehammer to what you thought you knew about some of the nation's most sacred historical cows. But don't just take my word for it. The New York Times described UNFTR as consistently compelling and educational, aiming to challenge conventional wisdom and upend the historical narratives that were taught in school. For as the great philosopher Yoda once put it, you must unlearn what you have learned. And that's true whether you're in Jedi training or you're uprooting and exposing all the propaganda and disinformation you've been fed over the course of your lifetime. So search for UNFTR in your podcast app today and get ready to get informed, angered, and entertained all at the same time.
All right, back on the Young Turks. I love your comments so much. I'm gonna have to read a lot of them. So first, the member section, as always, tyt.com/join to be a member. Megan says, it also shows how selfish Biden is. Quote, yeah, he's taking out a bunch of Trump people, but it might maybe hurt me, and that's the most important. Totally, of course that's how Biden thinks. To be fair, that's how most politicians think. Eclectic Miscellanea says, my daughter is better at lying than Pompeo and Trump combined, and she's only 5. Low bar. Expect better of your daughter. All right, Skellner says, can we get a TYT shirt that just says, tick, 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 tick. Come on, shop tyt.com. What are you doing, right? Of course. But you guys can design it and send it to us, and then if it works, we give you like $100 or something. Anyway, figure out how to do that. Good luck. Okay, super last thing where I said on Twitter. As a TYT member, I have to say, Anna's face whenever Cenk says tick, 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 tick is everything.
I didn't even realize I made a face. I probably like roll my eyes or something.
Oh, I'm sure. And
I hate that. Like, I don't hate it. That's too strong a word. But like, I just feel like you use it too much and prematurely. For sure, Cenk.
Okay, don't make me do a poll where the audience says I use it too little.
No, let's do a poll. I don't know, I could be wrong. I hope I'm not like completely disconnected from the audience, but I would argue that they'd agree with me.
Oh, now it's on. Now it's on. All right, we'll work on the poll. We'll get back to you guys maybe tomorrow, okay? But it's on. So anyway, they continue, finish up saying, now to you, Anna, can't wait for you to lose $200. LMAO, still love you, Casper.
By the way, same. Like
Right,
if it
so-
happens, I'll be very happy.
Yeah. Cat Tiger Cozy agrees with Megyn in the member section. Joe Biden, why are you telling MSNBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, and other networks not to give Giuliani airtime? He's doing great.
Yep.
And Mark says, I'm really hoping that the series finale of the Trump show ends like the series finale of Seinfeld. Trump, Pence, Barr, and Giuliani sitting in a cell bickering with each other. Sounds great. Speaking of Seinfeld, tonight on Old School, Wayne Fetterman is on. Wayne's a fantastic comic, and you've seen him in almost every show you've watched, but also a big part of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So he's gonna be on tonight at 6:30 Pacific with me and Ben. So look, tyt.com/join. You get all of our shows anytime you want. Get the app, it's fantastic. Casper.
I just got an Instagram comment that said, never enough tick, 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 tick.
Yes.
That's one person. That's one person. Also, I wanted to remind you guys about one of our partners, and this is a great partner because they help to keep your online activity safe. NordVPN. You should be using a VPN anytime you're logged in online. It helps to, prevent hackers from figuring out what you're doing and how you're doing it. Go to nordvpn.com/TYT in order to get a huge discount. You get 70% off for 3 years, and you get the first month for free. So why not? NordVPN.
Look, if you're not protecting your computer, tick, 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 until somebody busts you. Okay, I'm not saying anything, I've just said it.
Now, with that said, let's go to our next story.
Go.
It used to be required that you had to offer direct, personal, firsthand evidence, or else this particular complaint, which is known as an urgent concern complaint, would be dismissed by the intelligence community inspector general. And that was changed sometime in the last year. And when we asked the DNI and the ICIG for information on who changed it, when, and why, they straight up refused to answer that question.
Yeah, that's Sean Davis. He's the co-founder of The Federalist, a right-wing propaganda outlet. And they are helping Donald Trump spread all sorts of nonsense, misinformation, inaccuracies, and also conspiracy theories about the whistleblower, which had filed a formal complaint in regard to Donald Trump's July 25th phone conversation with the Ukrainian president, Vladimir Zelensky. Now, there have been so many lies pushed out there, so many conspiracy theories pushed out there, that the Inspector General for the intelligence community issued a rare statement in an effort to debunk the misinformation. So we're gonna go through some of that with you today to give you an idea of exactly what's been going on. So one of the things that came up was, of course, what you just heard Sean Davis argue, that they changed the rules, that at first they wouldn't allow whistleblowers to file formal complaints based on secondhand knowledge. Now, all of a sudden, they've changed it in an effort to accommodate this new whistleblower, but that is not the case. When Sean Davis made that statement on Fox, immediately after that, Trump tweeted, "Who changed the long-standing whistleblower rules just before submittal of the fake whistleblower report drained the swamp?" Okay, so the Inspector General for the intelligence community has debunked that, writing, "The disclosure of urgent concern form, the disclosure of urgent concern from the complainant submitted on August 12, 2019 is the same form the ICIG has had in place since May 24th, 2018, which went into effect before Inspector General Atkinson entered on duty as the Inspector General of the intelligence community on May 29th, 2018, following his swearing in as the Inspector General of the intelligence community on May 17th, 2018. So this is their way of saying, no, this was a rule that was in place well before the whistleblower filed this formal complaint. Any other misinformation should just be brushed aside.
Yeah, so there's two different things here. But first of all, on whether the rule was changed nefariously so that they could get Donald Trump. No, the rule wasn't changed. The Federalist just made that up.
Exactly. So let me give you more. The Inspector General also writes, The complainant on the form he or she submitted on August 12, 2019, in fact, checked two relevant boxes. The first box stated, I have personal and or direct knowledge of events or records involved. And the second box stated, other employees have told me about events or records involved. Now I bring that up because even if they had changed the rules in the way that conservatives are pushing out, the reality is this whistleblower had both firsthand knowledge and secondhand knowledge about Donald Trump's dealings and communications with Ukraine. Now, let me give you, go ahead, Cenk.
Yeah, but also there is no such rule that says whistleblower complaint with only secondhand knowledge is illegitimate and not credible. So Trump is saying, oh my God, and the Federalist is saying, oh my God, they changed the rules. Before it was not credible, now they made it credible so that they could get a secret person with a secondhand complaint, blah, 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 blah. None of it is true. So it was never a rule. In fact, now let me go to Chuck Grassley, who is a stalwart Republican from Iowa. And so Grassley, right-winger through and through, Senate Republican, but also the chairman and co-founder of the Senate Whistleblower Protection Caucus. So he writes today, when it comes to whether someone qualifies as a whistleblower, the distinctions being drawn between first and secondhand knowledge aren't legal ones. It's just not part of whistleblower protection law or any agency policy. So that is a Republican in the Senate saying Trump is making things up. That is not remotely part of the law, so he is full of it.
So one other talking point that we learned about just last week was when Trump accused the whistleblower of being, quote, close to a spy, and the IG statement actually addresses this. But before we get to the IG statement, I just want to remind you about what he said. There was an audio recording of Donald Trump making this claim while addressing the UN in Manhattan. Take a look.
I want to know who's the person that gave the whistleblower, who's the person that gave the whistleblower the information? Because that's close to a spy. You know what we used to do in the old days when we were smart, right? The spies and treason. We used to handle it a little differently than we do now.
So there's Donald Trump suggesting that the whistleblower was close to a spy and that the spy should be executed. That is exactly what he's implying in that statement.
So you can't argue that one. If you were arguing, well, his tweet saying maybe they're committing treason, well, okay, yes, the only penalty for treason is death and execution, but he's just being glib or whatever excuse you made for him. Well, in that tape, it's super clear. He's saying, you know what we used to do to spies. Well, we didn't give them jaywalking tickets for spies in the past. It was execution, right? So he's talking about not just locking up his political opponents, but executing them. And so understand why the whistleblower law exists in the first place. It exists to protect legitimate whistleblowers. So that's why I'm gonna give you one more Chuck Grassley quote. He said, this person appears to have followed the whistleblower protection laws and ought to be heard out and protected. It's amazing that a Republican senator is saying this person who works in the government must be protected from the Republican president who's threatening to do him harm, okay? And he said, we should always work to respect whistleblowers' requests for confidentiality. That's the whole point. They yelled at Snowden for not being a legitimate whistleblower going through the legal channels. Mm-hmm. When you go through the legal channels, Trump is saying, let's execute him. So even Republicans are like, no, the whole point is to protect the whistleblowers and not ruin their confidentiality. Joaquin Castro went on TV today. His brother is running for president. He's a congressman from Texas. He said he is significantly worried about that Trump is bringing harm to that person. He said it's, quote, getting quite scary now. And he's absolutely right. These constant terroristic threats that Trump and his followers who do follow through on those threats are making to the physical safety of anyone who opposes Donald Trump personally.
I mean, look, I agree with that statement from Castro, but it's been scary for whistleblowers. I mean, whistleblowers, and I get it, this particular whistleblower went through the proper channels, blah, 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 whatever, right? I don't care. Whistleblowers in the past, including Chelsea Manning and Edward Snowden, have had no protections. In fact, Chelsea Manning was thrown in solitary confinement. I didn't hear many Democrats speaking out against that.
No, the Democratic establishment does not have clean hands here. I don't think it's fair to put Castro in that bucket, and he's fighting for the right things in this case. And actually, so is Grassley. So we're being fair and nonpartisan in that sense. By the way, today, Maxine Waters said that Trump should not only get thrown out of office, but should go to prison and have solitary confinement. And what happened? People flipped out. Oh, it's not civil. It's not civil. By the way, I talked to a guy the other day who got a month and a half in prison, and the first week was solitary confinement for a simple drug possession. So we do that to people all the time without caring about them at all because they're middle class or they're poor, they're average Americans. But when you get to the beloved elite, when Maxine Waters even suggests solitary confinement, people are like, how dare you? Meanwhile, Trump is threatening to kill people and we're having a debate about it.
Right.
But Maxine Waters threatens to, prison for someone inside the club and everybody's verklempt about it. Oh my God, Maxine Waters is the bad guy. No, there's one very, very clear bad guy here. The one threatening to execute his political opponents.
Now, the Inspector General for the intelligence community in the statement indicated that the whistleblower went through the proper channels, didn't do anything wrong here, should be protected. But I also want to remind you of what the Director of National Intelligence had to say about this whistleblower while testifying before House Democrats just last week. Take a look.
I want to also state my support for the whistleblower and the rights and the laws. Whistleblowing has a long history in our country, dating back to the Continental Congress. This is not surprising because as a nation, we desire for good government. Therefore, we must protect those who demonstrate courage to report alleged wrongdoing, whether on the battlefield or in the workplace.
I like that Liam Neeson's son was at the hearings. Did you see the guy in the back left? He had a very special set of skills. Don't mess with the dude. Can you show us real quick? On the left. No. You don't have my son. I have your son.
Release the Kraken.
Release the whistleblower. How's that for random?
I didn't even notice that guy. It's amazing. But anyway, again, these types of statements from the Inspector General for the intelligence community, it's extremely rare. And I'm glad that this type of debunking is happening. If you look at impeachment polling, more and more Americans are behind this impeachment inquiry, which is important. So that means that all of these lies and all of these smears toward people who are doing their jobs, not working. It's not working. For once, these Republican talking points aren't really getting through to people.
Yeah, no, and right now the impeachment numbers are in. They are disastrous for Donald Trump. Some polls have it at 55% approval of impeachment inquiry. Now majority in some polls saying impeachment inquiry, then impeachment, then conviction in the Senate. So
stop giving everything away because we got to take a break. And then when we come back, we're gonna really dissect.
At TYT, we frequently talk about all the ways that big tech companies are taking control of our online lives, constantly monitoring us and storing and selling our data. But that doesn't mean we have to let them. It's possible to stay anonymous online and hide your data from the prying eyes of big tech. And one of the best ways is with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from eavesdroppers and cyber criminals. And it's also easy to install. A single mouse click protects all your devices. But listen guys, this is important. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET and Wired magazine. So take back control of your life online and secure your data with a top VPN solution available, ExpressVPN. And if you go to expressvpn.com/TYT, you can get 3 extra months for free with this exclusive link just for TYT fans. That's expressvpn.com/TYT. Check it out today.
That story.
We hope you're enjoying this free clip from the Young Turks. If you want to get the whole show and more exclusive content while supporting independent media, become a member at tyt.com/join today. In the meantime, enjoy this free segment. All right, back in the Young Turks. Marit, the Norwegian Viking, writes in, already love it. Anna, you can call it premature articulation.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So look, I just want to clarify what my point was. It's not that Cenk uses tick, 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 tick too much. I just think that he uses it prematurely. So I have an issue with the context in which he uses it sometimes.
Yeah, you're changing the games.
I am not changing the games.
You're calling things classified
like
afterwards.
You said tick, 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 tick in regard to Trump resigning before the midterm elections. We shouldn't forget about that, right?
Oh, now you're going to bring that stuff up. Okay.
I just have receipts.
We'll have the poll tomorrow. Let the people decide.
All right.
I believe in the people.
I do too.
In fact, this person writes in named Nipple Pierce Cenk in skinny jeans.
Why?
Why? Okay, writing in more tick, 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 tick. TYT is like a progressive 60 Minutes. Oh, I get it. Because of tick, 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 tick. I get it. Heather123 says, nothing says you have job security like telling your boss he's wrong and getting him to poll the audience. Keep being a badass, Anna. Yes, or by the way, cutting off your boss in the middle of a sentence like Brett Ehrlich did and Skip did. You all participated. Okay, anyway, Beckdo71 says something Anna will like. Oh no, now I hear Trump saying NordVPN, the way he says Norway.
Norway.
NordVPN. I still bought a 3-year subscription though. They had,
awesome.
So awesome, thank you. NordVPN.com/TYT. Okay, Eduardo Rosal on Twitter says the reason they were saying someone changed the law to suit the whistleblower's needs, kind of like Anna just did on the poll. No, okay, I added that one. Is because they're changing Hillary's emails to classified. Classic projection.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Bingo!
How did I forget to mention that?
Ding, 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 ding. Eduardo, excellent point.
Yes.
iBow2015 says, whatever happened to whistleblower reality winner? She is in jail. That's what happened to her, because we never protect whistleblowers. The government hates it, the establishment hates it, the powerful hate it. The mathematician says, never forget one of the reasons we have Trump now is because Obama made it one of his personal goals to destroy Julian Assange for daring to embarrass the empire by showing how we slaughtered first responders in Afghanistan to cover up with the women and children we killed for kicks. So yes, well, partly Julian Assange, partly Chelsea Manning, etc. Obama was terrible on that issue. I'm not sure what that directly led to Trump, but it was part of the same elements. But tonight in the third hour, we're gonna have Abby Martin come on. She does the Empire Files about the American empire, and in this case, the brutality against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. So don't miss that, that's later in this program. If you miss any portion of the show, what do? That's right, tyt.com/join, okay?
Also, I want to tell you a little bit about Doe. We have a new partner.
Yes.
So look, investing can be complicated, it can be difficult. What do I invest in? How do I do it in a way that really suits my principles, my morals, my financial interests? Doe will help you with that. So whether you're interested in marijuana or all these other various issues, video games, travel, fashion, you answer questions about what your interests are, and this platform helps to find investment opportunities that suit your interests. So if you're fascinated by this, if you're interested in looking into what it is, please check it out by going to doe.com/TYT, doe.com/TYT.
It helps give you a little bit of financial freedom. So you're more in control of your finances than just handing it off to a giant bank and hoping for the best. So that's why we like them.
Yeah.
So excited about the new partner. All right, what's next?
All right. Donald Trump recently shared a poll that Breitbart conducted in regard to Americans and how they feel about this impeachment inquiry into his communication with the Ukrainian president. Now, just keep in mind, Breitbart did this. So this is a very credible outlet. And here's what the poll looked like. Oh, wow, 97.83% of Americans believe that, they stand with Donald Trump on this impeachment issue. The vast majority of Americans, even Democrats, even hardcore Democrats, they all support Trump when it comes to this impeachment inquiry. Only 2% say no.
All right, guys, I want to keep it up because Breitbart did an online poll, who cares? That's Donald Trump retweeting it and saying, thank you, okay? Okay, first of all, there's some percentage chance the moron actually believes that's a real poll.
So sad.
So, oh my God, baby, sad. Okay, number two, if you don't think it's a real poll, what are you doing? Like if I put out a TYT poll saying 97.83% of Americans support Cenk Uygur, I would only tweet that as a joke, right? Because yeah, even if the poll was real, it's an online poll of our audience. Yeah, and I don't think I'd get that high, but still, right? But it would be tongue in cheek. It would be funny, right? No, Trump's like, yeah, thanks, that's right, 97.8% of Americans, my part said it.
I've seen the polls, and the polls are very strong. The polls indicate that he wouldn't use the word indicate. What am I saying?
Yeah, I mean, look, if Obama tweeted a poll that Daily Kos or some liberal thing said Obama did great, and people are like, you idiot, that's not a real poll, and what are you doing, etc. We've just gotten used to Trump's madness. I mean, Colbert did a great skit last night. So he mentioned that Trump accidentally retweeted something, a whole account that replaces the word Trump and puts the word shark in it. So, and I had read the tweet and I missed it because Trump's so crazy that I was like, oh yeah, he's talking about how, the media is obsessed with being pro sharks. Okay, because it's in a torrential downpour of insanity.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and remember, this is the guy who literally, this is another tweet he did, where he literally thought that he had better poll numbers than Abe Lincoln. There's a shark next to me. Shark Lincoln, okay? There was no polling during Abraham Lincoln's time as president. Not even close.
Look, there's the laughable part of this, but there's also like the terrifying part. And whenever he puts out this type of ridiculous propaganda indicating that the vast majority of Americans agree with him on something when obviously they don't, it reminds me of Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un's father, who claimed that he bowled perfect games and that he never defecated because he had no anus.
Yeah.
That was a real thing, that they put that out there.
So, I mean, speaking of sharks, there is no jumping the shark with Trump because he jumped it on day one, right?
Yeah.
So the rest has been all Shark Week, Shark Year, Shark Term, right? But is there some chance that he will one day claim not to have an anus?
Yes.
I mean, it's on the board. It's on the board.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the insanity.
But I mean, if he doesn't have an anus, what was that golden toilet for?
No, good question. It was to bankrupt Trump Airlines. He did. He bankrupted his own airlines because he's like, oh, we're gonna put golden toilets in there. People are like, anyways.
Yeah.
Now on to real poll numbers.
Yeah. So let's do that. So. More and more polling indicates that the vast majority of Americans are starting to rethink impeachment. Now, I say vast majority, even though the polls indicate that there is nearly a 50-50 split. But when you see how many Americans didn't support impeachment and now do support impeachment, you'll kind of get an understanding of what I'm saying. So let's take a look at what some of these polls indicate. First, there's a Quinnipiac poll that showed that 47% of voters actually favor impeaching and removing Trump from office, compared with 47% who do not. So there's an even split there. However, if you go back just a week, right? If you look at numbers from September 25th, you'll find that the numbers were very different. So the poll released on September 25th found that voters did not want to impeach and remove Trump at 57% against it, 37% in favor of it, indicating a net 20-point swing in less than a week.
In less than a week, he's in massive trouble. So guys, the polling on this issue can be slightly confusing. So I want to just make sure that you're clear on it. There are 3 layers to it, and they ask it in 3 different ways. They don't often clarify which one they're referring to. So first, some polls ask, should there be an impeachment inquiry? That's where we have the vast majority that Anna referred to. So CNN had reported about a new poll put out by YouGov, and there's another one by CBS. But the YouGov one says 55% of Americans think the newly opened probe is necessary, and only 45% think it's unnecessary. So when we're talking about impeachment inquiry, clear majority, 55 to 45, say yes, do the inquiry. And almost all of them back that. In that same poll, when they say, okay, do you think impeachment should happen? That's the second layer. 42 to 36 saying yes, it should happen. When you talk, the third layer is, should they do the inquiry, do the impeachment, and then throw him out of office, which is what the Senate would do. And that's the one that Anna started with at Quinnipiac. And now even all three layers are at a split and tied, which is at the beginning of the inquiry. I mean, it just started a couple of days ago. Oh, those are terrible numbers. The Nixon numbers were when they started the impeachment proceedings, the only 19% of Americans wanted them to do that.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, because back then Democrats had courage.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, only 20% of Americans want to do it. It doesn't matter, he broke the law, we're doing it anyway.
Yep.
And by the end of it, he was gone because they were right. He had broken the law. Now, Democrats are like, I don't know, the majority want an inquiry, but should we do it? And finally, they get pushed into doing it. By the way, another article today, just like I predicted, is talking about how brilliant Nancy Pelosi was to wait. Okay, I can't take it anymore. Anyways, so overall, guys, Nixon was gone. He resigned before they even got to impeach him. They did the articles of impeachment, but before they got to vote on impeachment, he's like, I'm outie, I'm gone, right? Because handwriting was on the wall. So Trump starts in a way bigger hole than Nixon did.
Yes.
And his popularity is way less than Nixon's was. So it's a double whammy. I'll get to that, those numbers in a second.
So we've only given you a little tasty taste of this poll. We're not even done with Quinnipiac yet. I want to give you some more of those results. So the poll also found that 50% of those surveyed said that Trump did something wrong in propositioning Ukraine to investigate Biden, while 40% said he did not. So who is this 40%? Obviously, it's Republicans. So it's really split based on party lines. 86% of Democrats said that Trump did something wrong. Only 9% of Republicans said Trump did something wrong. But here's a number that's incredibly important. Among independent voters, 52% said that Trump did something wrong in trying to dig up dirt on Biden.
Once he lost the majority of independents, it's good night, Irene. And he's actually losing more and more Republicans than you might imagine. That number was at 5% in most of the polls. So only 5% of Republicans saying Trump did anything wrong in this case, and usually in any case. But it went up in that poll. In another poll, it's all the way up at 14%, saying that 14% of Republicans saying Trump did something wrong here, and they should look into it. So tick, 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 tick.
Okay. Let's move on to CNN because CNN did their own poll and they found that 47% of individuals actually favor impeaching and removing Trump from office. Only 45% are not in favor of that. Now the numbers from May were 41% in favor, 54% not in favor. So again, you see a significant increase in the CNN poll as well. Among independents, supports for impeachment and removal has risen 11 points to 46% among independents and 8 points. 46% among independents and 8 points to 14% among Republicans.
Yes, so look, those are very bad numbers for Donald Trump. I want to say one other reason why. So everybody thinks, oh, it's because he did something bad in Ukraine. But look, the obstruction charges in the Mueller report were just as bad, and there were 10 different ones. So what's the difference? Well, on the one hand, on Ukraine, everybody's talking about it because the Democrats declared impeachment inquiry. So it got a huge spotlight. On the other hand, with Mueller, the Democrats were so it didn't go anywhere. No, you have to show people what he did wrong. And when you show it to them, they're like, oh, wow, that's pretty bad, right? And you could have done the same thing in the Russia case on obstruction. You could have done the same thing with the campaign finance violations, the hush money payments. Look, if I was the Democrats, I'd be like, his co-conspirator, it's literal. It's not figurative, it's not metaphorical. In the indictments, his co-conspirator is in prison right now. I would have done a press conference every day where I would be like, Michael Cohen, still in prison for the crime he committed with Donald Trump. And by the way, on behalf of Donald Trump. There's no question it's a crime. But they didn't do that. Nancy Pelosi hid in a cave, so the numbers didn't move. Now, when they do an impeachment inquiry, hey, look at that. It turns out when you make your own case, it moves people, to which I say, of course, of course. And for some of the kiss asses in the media to then turn around and give Pelosi credit for this is the most deeply ironic thing I have ever seen.
Well, the press also gave credit to some moderate freshman Democrats, and that's a story that I can't wait to share with you guys. But we're gonna have to do it after we come back from the break.
Hold. One last thing about the polling. Donald Trump now on his approval rating is down to the lowest number he's ever had, 37%. We're about a year out from the elections. So whether he resigns or gets impeached and convicted, etc., in terms of winning the elections, an incumbent at 37%?
Does that deserve a shimmy? I feel like it deserves a shimmy.
Okay, anyways, Carter was nowhere near 37%. Okay, 37% is a terrible number. The head of the ship is in the water and it's headed on its way down. I can give you tons of more numbers on that, but the bottom line is there's nothing pointing up. Everything is pointing down, and quickly. He's in a world of trouble.
We'll be back after this break.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of the Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.